We are thrilled today to have a special guest with us, Pastor Bob Beeman, a good friend of ours. Bob is an author. He's a minister to the homeless. He reaches out and deals with sex trafficking. He's a warrior in that department. He's a pastor. And get this, a heavy metal pastor. Man, you can't get any better than that. So Bob, he's also a pioneer of Christian metal and Christian rock. He's been doing this for, I'd say, maybe a couple of months.
Is that it? Is that?
He's been doing it a long time. Welcome, Bob, and welcome all to Redeeming the Romantic.
Yes, Pastor Bob, we're so glad to have you.
So excited to be here. These are two of my favorite people. Kim, Gary.
Of course.
Love you guys. Thank you for inviting me today.
Well, we love you too, and we're fascinated to be able to come into fellowship with everybody at Sanctuary and the years that are behind Sanctuary International. If you could kind of give us just kind of a brief synopsis of how Sanctuary started and what you guys are looking forward to in the coming months and years.
I would love to. Thank you. Well, Sanctuary is 40 years old this year. And I know people are saying, Pastor Bob, you barely look 40. How could it be that old? But
it blew my mind.
See? So I've been involved with the Christian rock movement for over 50 years. Came out of the Jesus People movement and, all of the old bands and all of that. And when I had an opportunity to help to pioneer the Christian metal music, we jumped in with both feet to disciple and to ground the people that were there was one thing that I saw lacking in the Jesus Revolution and the Jesus People movement. So it's been 40 years. It's been 40 great years. It's a very unique ministry. I don't look like the average pastor, but that's one of the reasons why people come to church, I think. Yeah.
Right. All pastors should look like you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you mean good looking like me? Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah.
What are some things that you are looking forward to? I know that Sanctuary has a anniversary coming up, and you've got another book coming out. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, I've written a few books. The first one in the late 70s, so it's been a while now. Okay. My most popular book is called Seriously, and it's letters to myself at 21, things that I wish I would have known at 21. I think we all can kind of identify with that. Another one is called Metal Devo. It's a daily devotional to the metal crowd. But I'm writing one right now that's called, just a minute, I forgot, Teach, Meet, Eat, Pray, based on Acts chapter 2, verse 42, and kind of the foundations of what the Bible says church is. So that's what I have in the works. And you guys, I love your writing, and I love your books. You're good at it. I suck at it. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy it. It's people say, well, it's a labor of love, and I'm thinking, yeah, maybe mostly the labor part. Yeah. So it's taking me a little longer to get it done.
Well, I understand that you guys are going to have an anniversary celebration in Ohio this summer.
We are, yes.
Original worship leader, Michael Sweet from Striper, is going to be there.
We're hoping that he is.
Okay.
We'll see what happens at this point. I'm going to be with Striper in Germany a month later.
Okay.
So we're doing a festival there together. But yeah, I'm hoping so. It's honestly unbelievable to think that we've been doing this for 40 years.
It is.
Just unbelievable. And so, yeah, at Immortal Festival, it's our 5th year with the festival. I've hosted every one of them, and we're excited. Part 1 and Part 2. Part 1, the end of July, is when we're celebrating our anniversary, and then part two. What we've done is get a lot of the older bands together, a lot of the original bands that
Mhm.
started this movement, and bringing in all the people that started following the movement when they were kids. And most of them have, well, sometimes kids and grandkids that they bring now,
That's so
so,
cool.
which is awesome. But it's a special ministry to that crowd, and we're
That's
excited. Yeah.
Well, this is going to be a little bit out of the ordinary. Usually, Bob does the interviewing on his own podcast, and we've had the privilege of him interviewing us for one a couple of months ago. But
Yes.
today we're going to talk to Bob about being single. And Bob, you've got just a little bit of experience with that, don't you?
I do 72 years of experience. Yeah.
7 years of
Yeah.
singleness.
Yeah.
So, since we get the honor to interview you today, and kind of dive into your story of singleness, a lot of our audience is tuning in because they're struggling with being single, maybe for the second time, but they're probably really longing for contentment. Can you give us kind of the backstory of, I mean, everybody's been single, so everybody's got that starting point. But for you, it sounds like maybe there were some opportunities for that to change. And if you could kind of explain a little bit of your background in that and why you're still single today.
Absolutely. I was voted in my high school class the first most likely to get married.
Oh,
I really wanted to be married. I wanted a big family. I come from such a great family. You guys know my mom.
yeah.
She's almost 95. She'll be 95 at the airing of the show. And
Yeah.
she's awesome. But she lives with me as well. And, I just come from such a great family. I wanted to, you know, replicate the same thing. And so I was engaged 4 times, twice to the same woman,
Mhm.
but to 3 different women, before I realized that something was wrong.
Mm.
I'm the one that broke every engagement off because I just couldn't go through with it. I didn't feel something was telling me no. Something became someone, and I realized God was beginning to speak with me. And I couldn't imagine, why any one of these women would have been wonderful wives. And I still think so. Um, so it was a difficult decision. And after the last time, I spent some time in prayer and fasting. And I actually went on a 36-day water fast. It was very serious. This is a question that I had to have answered, yeah. And I didn't make it quite 40 days like the Lord did, but 36. And yeah, I had to ask these questions. And during that time, God told me that He wanted me to be celibate. I didn't know anybody that was celibate, didn't
Mm.
know anybody that was. And quite a few years later, I would meet a very good friend, a priest actually in California that became a great friend. He's one of the leading historians in the Catholic Church and who is also celibate, who ended up getting married a few years later. Yeah. But it's the first person I'd ever met that was called to celibacy. So this was a whole new thing for me. There weren't any books out. There was nothing to read. Just depending on the Lord and saying, Lord, I'm willing to do this. And then it became very apparent that this was for a good reason. The reason that I'm celibate is because I believe in family so strongly.
Okay.
I realized after a while that what God was asking me to do in pioneering Christian rock and roll, pioneering this whole movement, we're in 23 countries now, that it was not just something that I could do part time. I had to put my whole life into it, much like Paul did. Paul was very focused in the same way, and God's desire was for me to be focused in the same way too. And I realize now, and we learn so much in retrospect, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I realize now that I could not have been married and done everything God's asked me to do. Not only has this been a lot of work, it's been extremely controversial. There
Yeah.
have been times that I feared for my life with it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gotten very hostile at times. Just bringing a particular kind of music into the church, especially in the early days, wasn't popular. And now, in each country that I go to and meeting with the leaders in the country and people begging me not to bring this satanic Christian rock music into their country, we go through it over and over again. It's not over. So, so I realized why God called me to be celibate. And at 72, I can say it's been a joy. I didn't
Mm,
think that at the beginning, but I really do now.
yeah. So I've got two questions. The next one is, you were pursuing marriage, you had a desire for marriage, you were pursuing marriage, and then God asked for you to be celibate. So this is not on my notes, but this question is, do you believe that calling of celibacy can be just for a season and not for life? Like you just, the priest who was celibate and called but then married. So
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it definitely can. And there was a time a few years ago when, even though I'm celibate, I'm not dead. And so there are certain women that I'm very attracted to.
mhm.
And I'll tell you, it's um, people say, well, God probably took away all of those desires. No, definitely did not. And so there have been some times, and there was one particular instance just a few years back where I was actually kind of working with someone that I was extremely attracted to. And I felt like God was saying for the first time, okay, if you wanted to get married now, you could. And at that point, it was a choice that I feel like I made alone, saying,
Oh.
no, I think I really would rather be celibate. The life has been good. I still am focused on what I want to do. And I'm probably too set in my ways to get married right now anyway. So I
So
think I would have the option if I wanted it.
okay.
Yeah.
What is the secret sauce? So, first of all, I think our singles are probably relieved that if they're fearing the call to celibacy, it still can be seasonal. But secondly, you ended your last or your question before that saying that it's been a joy. So there has to be a secret sauce to contentment that we would like for you to speak on. We know you mentioned Paul, and Paul, of course, encouraged singles, and we know that was a time frame of embracing singleness. But he
Yeah.
was content in all things. So tell us how you came away from having desire to contentment to have considered it a joy.
Well, I think first of all, we have to separate uh, human attachment to divine attachment.
Okay.
And those people who are married, you have a relationship, an eros relationship, a special family tie relationship to the person you're married to, which is different than agape love, the kind of relationship that God establishes with us. And they're really two different things. And when people say, well, I've just forgotten about my relationship that I might have with a woman or in the case of women out there that I might have with a man, and now I'm just married to God. And I don't think it really works that way. There's still a part of our lives that God designed to connect with another person. The part about my relationship with God is a whole different issue, but it's given me the strength to deal with that particular side issue, which is connecting with a human being. And I won't lie, there are times when I think it would be nice to be married right now.
Mhm.
But some of those times are when I'm doing the laundry or I'm cooking a meal or,
What are you saying, Bob?
yeah, I know. Um, Sometimes our lives as a single person, when you share your life with someone, you kind of share the load. And I've not had anybody to share the load with. So there are those times that you feel that. But then you realize that God's strength is sufficient, His power is sufficient, His wisdom is sufficient for my my difficulties, my struggles, my incompleteness, all of that is made perfect in
Mm,
Christ. in my relationship with him. So I think you keep going there, and I I would be lying if I said that celibacy was easy, or those that are called to it just need to resign themselves to realizing that they're celibate and life is going to be great. That's not true.
Mhm.
As it's not true that life is totally great all the time being married. Uh, any relationship is a struggle, and the lack of relationships are a struggle too. Where do you go with both of those needs? You go to the Lord, for his power is made perfect in my weakness. And I think that's where you have to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And I know personally you were talking about carrying the load. And I was a single mom for many, well, all of her adult,
Yes.
all of her life until she got married. And part of that load is decision making.
Yes.
And I didn't really realize it until after Gary and I got married that really is a load. Like I'm no longer alone in making decisions. It is a relief concerning that. But before that, you're right. It's who's my partner? Who's the smartest person in the room?
Mm.
It's not Gary. It's Jesus.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh no. So
Wait,
any
what?
Hey, hey, Bob. She's only saying all this now because guess who does the laundry in the house?
There you go.
But
I carry the load.
I think that learning that relationship with Christ, securing that relationship with Christ while you're single, gives you a gift to come into marriage with. So I know that I had a really super hard decision as a single parent. I'm on my knees asking for God's wisdom, and I have man's wisdom all around me, but it's not settling. And when he finally broke through and spoke to me, he said, "What they're saying is good, but it's small. I'm calling you something so much bigger." And then the peace,
Great point.
and I did that just with him. And so now I have company, which I don't know if Gary appreciates it as much because sometimes we'll do things that are off center.
I don't even think she knows how to run the washing machine, Bob.
Yeah.
The
You know,
dishes
I
too.
think I think a lot of it has to do, going into celibacy, has to do with our expectations. And
Mhm.
can I say that my expectations at the beginning of it, and now things that I've realized all of these years later, are really two different things. I expected when I went into celibacy that it was going to be difficult, that I was a martyr for God. I remember reading Fox's Book of Martyrs again. I'm one of them now. I'm doing this admirable thing for God, and it's not going to be easy, but I'm a warrior for the King. And I went into it with that mentality and came out of it being totally blessed by it,
Wow.
not expecting that would be the case. So one of the things that I wanted was blended families. I still do. I have great friends who have 10, 12 kids, and what an awesome thing. And so it was the hardest thing for me, besides, not having a helpmate or wife, was not being able to have a family.
Mm.
And so all these years later, I realized that I've raised a lot of kids. I have thousands of kids in their family. And I just returned from Sweden and Denmark and Switzerland, and I've been there for a few decades, back and forth. And there are people there that attend our festivals and stuff that I see year after year, and I keep in touch with, and now they're bringing their families, they're bringing grandkids. It is a family thing. They're excited to show me their new grandchild,
Mm.
those kinds of things. They're proud to share their families with me because we are family. And I didn't expect that. I didn't
Yeah,
expect the, the family part of this ministry.
that's very cool.
You've got a
Yeah.
lot of kids. But Bob, do you think that American culture as a whole tends to idolize romantic love?
And not that we can't look forward to romantic love, but I think we idolize it in ways that are realistic. You know, to say that, love only happens when certain elements are present. Guy comes home from work and hands his wife a bouquet of flowers and she welcomes him into the home where he has just cooked his favorite food. And all of this has to do with leading up to romance because all of the details are perfect. And I think that's how we look at romance. We look at love so many times. But sometimes love is coming home and the wife saying, you're going to have to get your own food. I just haven't. And the husband coming home and having the 5 o'clock train wreck, where she's been with the kids all day. They're not doing well. It's raining outside. They're screaming and yelling, and he's had a hard day at work. And he comes through the door, and he just wants everyone to leave him alone. And she comes to the door, and she says, "It's your turn. I need some time." And they have the 5 o'clock train wreck. And is that part of romance? Yeah, it is. It's part of this whole thing that we call love, the good, the bad, the ugly. And I love that part because that's the foundation of lasting relationships. Those fairly romantic things.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. I like that. Seeing both sides of it all, and if we had that picture in mind before we walked into it, maybe we wouldn't be so let down that from what Hollywood tells us it is. Like you just said, coming home to the flowers and everything. Kim comes home to all the clothes washed every day and never complains.
There you go. And when people ask you what is the secret to your romance, you can say laundry.
Laundry.
That's the secret. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this question. I'm going to make a statement, and you can say true, false, or no comment. Within God's plan, we don't choose our path, but our path chooses us.
Oh, that's an interesting statement. Yeah, I guess I would have to define the path. I think there have been so many times that I've been on the wrong path. And I say, yeah, God told me this and this and this, and only to find out later I was not listening to the right voice.
Mm.
And so I believe the Bible says that God establishes our path. And I guess that would be my comment. Are you sure that God has established it? And if he has established it, then like Paul said, run the good race.
Yeah.
The path is clear, it's straight, it's unencumbered. Go. Yes.
We really, really enjoy your insight into all these things as a single man. You know a lot of what you're talking about here. Do you have any final thoughts for the listeners, especially the single listeners? We have people.
We have
We have
three.
people.
We have 3 people.
That many of them are single, and so probably most of them are single. So what concluding thoughts or advice would you like to leave them in general? Anything that comes to your mind?
Yeah. Well, I would like to encourage those that are currently single to not jump to any conclusions. A lot of times when people are single, it's common for people to say, well, God must be calling me to celibacy. I don't believe that God calls very many people to celibacy. It's a very special calling. Generally, God's called you to marriage. That's how he created you.
Yeah.
So it's a special calling to be celibate, not the other way around. So that's not necessarily a foundation for your life. But if you find yourself being celibate, and can I just say that celibate also includes sexuality? Um, you know, there was a movie that came out a few years ago called The 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I say, I'm the 72-year-old virgin, and I still am. And I'm so happy for that. Yeah. Yeah. You think 40 was unbelievable. How about 72? What do I feel about that? I feel great because I haven't given that part of myself to anybody else. And I feel great about that. And for those people that maybe are divorced and they can't say that they're still a virgin, we can kind of start over and make sure that our sexuality, that our passions, and that our life goals are kept intact for that next person if God intends for us to be married. And it's worth the wait, and it's worth what you have to go through to stay where you're at. Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to fail.
Mm-hmm.
Put yourself into situations where you succeed. Yes.
Very good.
That's so great. Well, I know that our audience is going to appreciate, I think, the totality of this, the joy of our lives for you as a single man, for Gary and I as now finally a married couple, is to fulfill the will of the Lord. Really, that's the ultimate goal for all of us. So whether it's single or whether it's married, it's still that inner drive is to be pleasing
Yes.
to the Father with our whole lives. And I
Yes.
think that you are a great demonstration of that for your family, your Metal family, for the international Metal family, for anybody who gets to meet you, and for us as well. So I
Thank
do
you.
want to give you an opportunity. First of all, thanks for coming on for our very first interview at The Romantic. And then second, if you could just let everybody know how to find you. We know that you have a podcast during the week, Coffee with Pastor Bob. And then on The Matrix, you have live interviews that are happening. So kind of catch everybody up a little bit on how they can find you and some of the things that you offer.
Well, if you just go to my site, and it's just pastorbobbeeman.com, all the links are there for everything. And yeah, I'd love to have you join me. And I would love to have you guys join us too. I think your message needs to get out with more people. But you guys, thank you so much for having me on today. I love you both so much. I am your biggest fan. So I'm excited for this podcast. Absolutely.
Thanks again, Bob.
Okay. Thank you.